The Merchant of Venice is a play written by William Shakespeare. It has themes, complete and universal ideas about life in general, revealed through the characters and action of the drama. The Merchant of Venice is a tragic comedy by William Shakespeare, believed to have been written between 1596 and 1598. Though classified as a comedy in the first folio and sharing certain aspects with Shakespeare's other romantic comedies, the play is perhaps most remembered for its dramatic scenes and is best known for Shylock and the famous "Hath not a Jew eyes" speech. Also notable is Portia's speech about the quality of mercy. A young Venetian Bassanio needs a loan of 3,000 ducats so that he can marry Portia, who is a very wealthy lady. He approaches his friend Antonio, a merchant. Antonio is short of money because all his wealth is invested in his fleet of ships, which are currently at sea. He goes to a Jewish moneylender, Shylock, who hates Antonio because of Antonio's cruel behavior towards him. Shylock nevertheless agrees to make the short-term loan, but in a moment of dark humor, he makes a condition. The loan must be repaid in 3 months, or Shylock will exact a pound of flesh from Antonio. Antonio agrees and confident that his ships will return in time. Because of the terms of Portia's father's will, all suitors must choose from among 3 caskets, one of which contains a portrait of her. If he chooses that, he may marry Portia, but if he doesn't, he must vow never to marry or court another woman. The Prince of Morocco and Aragon fail the test and are rejected. As Bassanio prepares to travel to Belmont for the test, his friend and Lorenzo elopes with Shylock's daughter, Jessica. We now come to the characters of the play. Shylock, a Jewish moneylender in Venice, angered by his mistreatment at the hands of Venice's Christians, particularly the merchant Antonio. Shylock schemes to get revenge by ruthlessly demanding a pound of Antonio's flesh as penalty for Antonio's defaulting on loan. The Christian characters in the play regard Shylock as an inhuman monster, frequently mocking him for being obsessed with money. In person, however, Shylock comes across as far more than a caricature or stereotype. Antonio, the merchant whose love for his friend Bassanio prompts him to sign Shylock's contract and almost lose his life. Antonio is something of a mercurial figure, often inexplicably melancholy, and as Shylock points out, possessed of an incorrigible dislike of the Jews. Nonetheless, Antonio is beloved of his friends and proves merciful to Shylock, although with conditions.
Now we come to Bassanio, a gentleman of Venice and a kinsman and dear friend to Antonio. Bassanio's love for the wealthy Portia leads him to borrow money from Shylock with Antonio as his guarantor. An ineffectual businessman, Bassanio nonetheless proves himself a worthy suitor, correctly identifying the casket that contains Portia's portrait.
Portia, a wealthy heiress from Belmont. Portia's beauty is matched only by her intelligence, bound by a clause in her father's will that forces her to marry whichever suitor chooses correctly among 3 caskets. Portia nonetheless longs to marry her true love, Bassanio. Far and away the cleverest of the play's characters, Portia disguises herself as a young male law clerk in an attempt to save Antonio from Shylock's knife. Nerissa, she is the waiting maid of Portia, but more of a companion then a maid servant. Jessica, she's the daughter of Shylock. She's a very beautiful, wise, and a charming girl with a strong sense of humor and poetical nature. Lorenzo, he's a young man who somehow is successful in capturing the heart of Jessica, the daughter of Shylock. Gratiano, friend of Bassanio, a very talkative and witty man. His garrulity is his most striking trait.
The other characters are mentioned below.
We now come to Act 1, the summary. Antonio, a very influential merchant. He has many ships out at sea. Bassanio is pursuing Portia. Her father wants her to marry only the right man. So we have the casket game, and Portia is not impressed by them. Shylock is mocked by Antonio. Interpretations, analysis, or ideas. Why is Antonio sad? Is he in love? Is he nervous about ships? The casket game will rule out unworthy suitors. What is the relationship between Antonio and Shylock? We now come to Act 2. We find Portia's suitors, Morocco, who chooses gold, and Aragon, who chooses the silver casket. And then we find Shylock's daughter Jessica, who runs away with Lorenzo, and Shylock's lament. Interpretations, analysis. Is there such a thing as true love in this play? What can be said of Shylock? We now come to Act 3. There's news of Antonio's ships, and Shylock rejoices. He then returns to curse his daughter. Bassanio tries the casket game. Antonio is bankrupt. Shylock gets his revenge. We now come to Act 4, where we see Antonio's trial, and Portia, who is dressed as a lawyer, comes to his rescue. How it all backfires on Shylock. Shylock's punishment is due. Half of his estate must go. We now come to a very happy ending. Portia greets Bassanio, who introduces her to Antonio, who reports in turn that he has been acquitted in the courts of Venice. Gratiano and Nerissa begin to argue over the ring with which he promised never to part. Nerissa chastises her husband not for hurting her feelings, but for breaking his own promise. So in the end, we see the ring game creates a lot of confusion for everybody.
So children, we now come to the end of the play. And here is a very quick quiz for all of you. Who is the merchant? Who does Lorenzo marry? What is the connection between Jessica and Shylock? Who does Bassanio love? Who is Gratiano? And I'm sure you all can answer these questions. Till we meet again, bye.